It's time once again to become one of the city's most destructive renegades, this time as an illegal Russian immigrant named Niko Bellic. The sixth installment in the series, known for its gangster film-like corruption and mayhem, Rockstar's latest game has finally been ported to PC and was released last December. This time around, though, the game wasn't launched without a hitch. While the company is often praised for its attention to detail and special editions in console to PC ports, Grand Theft Auto 4 seems to be plagued with bugs and errors. In fact, there were so many reports of players experiencing issues with this title that we decided to hold off reviewing it for at least a couple of months. There was also a certain hype factor, as usual with this kind of large budget title, which I wanted to avoid. Some publications and sites, for example, seem to just copy and paste their console reviews. Being a PC gaming only website, you're not going to find that here at 2404. So after waiting a while, I finally installed the Steam version of the game and luckily didn't have any initial issues. One minor thing that happened after I first started the game was that I was unable to connect to Games for Windows Live. It ended up that my firewall was blocking Live and it wasn't telling me in a normal pop-up alert. This is, of course, not Rockstar's problem. Speaking of Games for Windows Live, I have to note that I really don't find it necessary in Grand Theft Auto 4. I've also been playing Fallout 3 lately, and between the two games I've come to the conclusion that I really just don't like Games for Windows Live. I think that at least some of the problems with both of these games can be attributed to it, and I would go so far as to recommend developers avoid it in the future. In Grand Theft Auto 4, you actually aren't even able to save your single-player progress without signing into Live, which I've found to be quite aggravating. While I didn't seem to have any other Live problems, I did experience the following issues. My game consistently froze on the Wrong is Right intro cutscene. I restarted my computer and tried it at least 4 times, but with no luck. I ended up just having to skip that scene completely. There were also other points in the game where it froze, and I had to restart my computer. I also experienced certain graphics glitches. It seemed like if I didn't restart my computer before playing the game, these glitches were more common. I'd basically just describe it as gray boxes showing up where they shouldn't. The reason I list these things off is that even though Rockstar has released at least one patch, you're still likely to experience a bug or two if you play the game. I spent some time browsing through the Steam forums and the GTA forums, and it's apparent that many people have had issues with this game. Some can't even play. Shame on the reviewers that gave the PC version such high scores. The ignorance is almost humorous. With problems this widespread, a game must be scored lower. It's really disappointing because Rockstar does such great console ports compared to the other companies, like they actually do care about computer gamers. Not this time around. Despite new characters and storyline, the actual missions in Grand Theft Auto 4 don't seem all that different from the previous installments. You'll be instructed to take out a target, kill a group of people, assassinate a character, or make threats and rough someone up for money. It's as simple as that. The storyline does go a bit deeper, and the character relationships, such as the one you have with your cousin Roman, are stressed, but I just believe it could have been a little better. In the end, it can be difficult not to see this as the same old GTA on a new engine with a few additions and much better graphics. One of the highlighted new features includes the cover system. During combat, you are now able to stand or lean against a wall or some other form of cover. You take aim while behind the cover, and when you're ready, pop out and take a shot. It's one of the things that make this game seem more realistic, but I didn't like it that I had to press a key to move away from the cover. The other major highlighted feature in the PC version is the Replay Video Editor. The editor itself is fairly simple to use, and it's definitely a fun and innovative addition. A question I have, though, is how much time was spent developing it. When you consider the amount of bugs in this game, it's easy to see the Replay Editor as a distraction from the actual game. Don't get me wrong, I think it's a positive feature, but it's hard to see people spending a ton of time with it. At some point, people are going to get really sick of GTA videos and just move on. The final main new feature is the multiplayer component. The series finally includes online play without installing a mod. It's a definite plus for the series, with 15 different gameplay modes. It's just a matter of finding a server to play on that can be a bit of an issue, as Live rears its ugly head. It can be difficult to find a server that actually has people playing on it, and when you do, you also have to worry about a plethora of cheaters. It's somewhat surprising that many servers are empty, and after doing some reading, some people have come to the conclusion that the modders, or hackers, have wrecked the multiplayer. So this component ends up not really qualifying as good, but at least Rockstar is headed in the right direction. Hopefully a patch will soon be released to circumvent these cheaters. There were several aspects in GTA that I found to be very annoying. So many, in fact, that I'm going to go through each of them. First up is a cell phone. Social interaction with characters is something that is really pushed in GTA 4, and most players will agree that the primary annoyance is the cell phone. After getting into the game a bit, you will receive calls and text messages all the time. Sometimes the calls will be requests for missions, but other times someone will just want to go play darts, go bowling, or need a ride. Considering that the game is quite long, I often ignored the menial tasks because they seemed like a waste of time and were usually boring. However, you gain or lose points with characters depending on how often you are able to assist them. Ignoring them too often prevents you from unlocking bonus items, missions, etc. Grand Theft Auto 4 is really long and drawn out. You can spend hours playing and only be 25% into the single-player portion. Usually, I'd only end up playing 2 or 3 missions per sitting. While driving around the city is fun, it can take a while to arrive at your intended destination. I really didn't like the fact that there wasn't an automatic save right before arriving at a location where a mission was to begin. If you don't live through the mission, you could then avoid the long drive times. In this game, you can choose to save only when you return to one of your safe houses. There are also some automatic saves if you have that option turned on, but they don't happen until after you complete a mission. Next up is the artificial intelligence. The AI isn't bad, but it certainly isn't perfect either. You'll often notice random people in the city moving in strange directions, other drivers act strangely at times and tend to swerve in the wrong direction, and so on. Here's an example of how it can go wrong. The hostile negotiation mission towards the beginning of the game isn't very easy. Roman has been captured by Russians, and you have to take out what seem to be at least 20 to 30 people. After finally making my way to the top of the building and rescuing Roman in a very tense situation, Roman states that we need to get out as sirens are heard in the distance. The game gives you a prompt to follow Roman and escape. I begin to run, but Roman is just walking. As we reach the part of the ledge with the broken railing, I get too close and automatically push Roman off. I wait a little, and then in big bold red letters I get Roman is dead. Great. Political satire. GTA 4 is overflowing with political satire. The radio and the TVs are where it's really pushed, and it really just slants in one direction. I don't mind it a little bit, but this much, in one political direction or another, bugs me. Don't we get enough of this on a daily basis already? Pushing the envelope. Hey, I'm not for censorship, but at the same time, I really just don't understand why Rockstar continues to push controversial items. It seems like every installment in the series gets a little edgier and edgier. Between the profanity and the adult themes, this is definitely not a game for kids. I'm not saying that the game isn't appropriately rated, I just don't understand why Rockstar puts itself in this position. Is it for publicity? They just really don't need it anymore. The in-game radio is of course back as usual and has a great selection this time around. You'll be able to hear music from popular bands such as Bob Marley, The Stooges, John Coltrane, Miles Davis, Philip Glass, The Smashing Pumpkins, and Aerosmith among several others, along with music from lesser-known bands. Don't forget one of the PC staples of this series, which allows you to use your own music in its own radio station. Along the same lines, the game's own music is also well done, as expected. The good graphics will be the first thing that most players notice when first starting up GTA 4. PC graphics are improved over the console version, as the city, characters, vehicles, weapons, etc. all look very nice. Driving through Star Junction, the replica of Times Square, for the first time was a great experience. As most people know, several landmarks in-game are actually replicas of locations in New York City. Other landmarks include Firefly Island, or Coney Island, Middle Park, which is Central Park, the Statue of Happiness, which is Statue of Liberty, among others. Maps are large, and though the system requirements are somewhat high for this game, it does look really nice. Overall, I'm simply just disappointed with Rockstar when it comes to Grand Theft Auto 4. PC gamers already get shafted with the slow GTA releases compared to the consoles. To have all the bugs at launch that it did makes me wonder what happened during the testing period. It's also missing a lot of great features that were included in San Andreas. GTA 4 definitely has some great features, but when you look at the big picture, the result is definitely lackluster.